Will the Kindle mean the end of books? Will tablet computers mean the end of newspapers? Joining us for this week's Smith Business Close-Up is P.K. Kannan, professor and chair of the marketing department at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. Professor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Let's talk about your research. What were you trying to find out about just what consumers are willing to buy?
Well, the basic idea of the research was to understand under what conditions consumers tend to prefer one format of content to the other. So we have traditional formats like books, DVDs, and music, and CDs, and so on. And you have these emerging formats where you have ebooks, iPad, iPhone, iTunes, and all these newer formats through which you can actually get content. And we wanted to find out what value consumers were deriving from these alternative formats, and under what conditions would consumers end up buying more than one format. So think about going to Netflix and subscribing for a streaming video as well as for DVDs, and going to Wall Street Journal website and signing in for an online website subscription as well as a print subscription.
This does not appeal to my sense of frugality, but you're saying that people would basically pay twice for the same content.
Well, it's not paying twice, but what we are suggesting is that when you have alternative formats, and when these alternative formats are equally high in quality on those common dimensions, then the usage situations for which these are uniquely suitable. For example, online is something that I can get from wherever I am and actually get the access to content, make copies of it, and send it to my friends, share it with my friends. So these are some unique things that I can't do with my print content easily. On the other hand, with the print content, I can get a Wall Street Journal in the morning and read it with my coffee and have some fun skimming through these articles, and that I can't do with online content. So what we are saying is when the two formats are equally high in common attributes, then consumers start thinking about these unique situations for which these formats will be useful, and as a result, they end up actually buying both formats. Now, this is actually a great way for content producers to design their alternative formats, because when people actually buy both formats, then it solves a lot of problems for content producers.
So what is the takeaway for a content producer? How do you get somebody to buy your product twice?
Well, the way that we would think about this is you need to design these formats equally high on all the common attributes, and then also stress to consumers what are the unique attributes of these formats that will be useful for unique usage situations. Make these usage situations much more salient, and once you make them salient to them, then they will end up buying both. Now, what this helps the content producers is content producers really don't have to now worry about these formats being substitutes and competing with each other, because they are having a lot of problem nowadays to understand how they should actually price these alternative formats, and sometimes they are worried that one format may cannibalize the other one. So our prescription for them is, hey, make these formats equally high in quality, then consumers will buy both of them.
I don't have too much time, but talk for a minute, if you would, about pricing. So I wouldn't expect to pay as much for the online Wall Street Journal as for the print edition, because the print edition, you figure you're paying for the printing costs, the physical product distribution, and all of that.
Right, absolutely. Now, the way to frame this is, if I'm already paying, let's say, $100 for the print version, and with an additional maybe $10 or $20, if I'm also able to get the online version, then I'm getting both versions, and the revenue for Wall Street Journal now becomes $120 instead of me just paying $100 for the print or maybe $40 for the online version. So what we are saying is, when people buy the bundle, they get more value from the bundle, and you can also derive more value from consumers by pricing it appropriately, and that increases the revenue for content producers. And remember, for content producers, they incur the cost with the first copy. So when they produce one copy, they incur all the costs, and the marginal costs are very small. So in order for them to cover these upfront high fixed costs, they got to come up with schemes which can allow them to extract value from consumers, and bundling is the way to go about doing it.
Very good. Professor P.K. Kannan joining us from the Smith School of Business. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.